Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mic rolls on the Monday morning, Overreaction Monday. Got a bunch of emails we'll get to before the show wraps up here on this Monday morning. And we reached the time of the year where you're scoreboard watching, keeping an eye on what's going on across the state as the high school football playoffs are underway. The first round of 9-man was this past weekend. We'll get ready for the second round coming up this weekend. Defending champs from North Prairie are back. They beat Nelson County in their playoff opener, 28-16. The Cougars move on. They got a date with second-seeded new Rockford-Sheyenne coming up on Saturday. Our pleasure to welcome back North Prairie head coach Josh Keller to the show, who I promised I was not big-timing last week because I set something up and then we didn't do it. So I appreciate you taking my call and joining us today.
Yeah, no worries at all. Like I said, we were in the middle of practice, so I was just going to FaceTime you in and maybe get a couple of guys in. So It worked out fine. No worries at all there. Good to be back.
Congrats on the win. Tell me how different, I know it's obviously a different feel. Does this year to have this kind of success, is it just as rewarding knowing what you lost off of last year's team, that here you go, you won a playoff game the year after?
You know, our athletic director, Mr. Loyne, kind of talked about this as, we're not interested in just having good teams, is we want to have a good program, and it starts at the top and goes all the way to the bottom, setting expectations of how we work, how we practice, how we study, how we're students in school. And I think that's what we have here is a good program. You're not probably always competing for state titles. But I'd say if you look back at kind of our history, the last 20 years in the co-op, we've been a very, very successful co-op because of, that mentality of we want to be a good program.
Tell me about your win on Saturday, just to get one out of the way and now knowing what you got coming up this coming week.
Yeah, it was a gritty win. I don't know what it was like out there, but we had 20, 25 mile an hour winds. So there was one side of the field, going down where we couldn't pass. You could hardly punt the ball. I mean, we punted it and he hit it well. It maybe went 10 yards.
Wow.
So we ended up faking a punt once, and that kind of flipped the momentum to their side. And then they ended up faking 2 punts. We stopped one, and it kind of flipped the momentum back to our side. So it was a gritty win. I got to give a lot of credit to Nelson County. Those boys played their tail off. Full 4 quarters of football. Physical game, hard-hitting game. We were down 16-12 going into the first quarter, and we were able to rattle off 2 touchdowns to win at the end. So credit to our boys, that, like I said, not everything's perfect and everything's going to go your way, but they found a way and they just battled back and got a win on Saturday.
How much muscle memory is there, Josh, from last year for the guys that are coming back to say, okay, we know how to do this? Did you see that play out late in the game last week?
I guess I didn't sense any panic out of our older guys, because they've been through things like that. I guess I'm proud of our sophomore class because we've got quite a few sophomores this year who are playing substantial time. And I think they kind of lean on to older kids just to mentally get them through games like that. So our sophomore class has done a really nice job kind of growing throughout the season, because they were freshmen last year, and unfortunately for us, due to the nature of 9-man football, we didn't get a lot of JV games in, so their first experience was really varsity football. To kind of see their growth throughout the season, guys like Johnny Mears and Logan Olson and Cole Cassavant and Brody Hines, 4 guys who played substantial minutes for us, just to see them progress and get better out the year was pretty cool. Cole Cassavant had his first varsity touchdown on Saturday, so that was also
nice.
Pretty cool.
All right, so now it's New Rockford, a team you played earlier. It feels probably like a year ago. Is that something, do you watch that tape, or is it like, you know what, there's nothing I need to see from that game again?
Well, I mean, you can look at it as a loss, or you can look at it as a learning opportunity. I have to give them a lot of credit. They are the most talented team in the state. And it can be said that we probably didn't play our best game. You have 4 turnovers in the first half.
That's tough.
It's not good.
No.
But give them credit for causing those turnovers too. You miss open field tackles. You're not in position to tackle. So, really when we watched the film on Monday, it wasn't a scream at you fest. It wasn't a, in their face. It was, Okay, why did this play break down? Were we in position? No, we weren't. Okay, so let's be in the right position and understand that with the level of athletes and talent that they have, that they're going to make some plays, but in the same breath, let's get ourselves in the right position. Let's do the things that we need to do in order to be successful.
Just a chance to get into play again. I said this to a couple of the coaches I spoke with last week. There are plenty of teams that are done. They're putting their pads away. You're going to practice today. Just is that message number one when you tell the guys when you get out there this afternoon?
Yeah, that's kind of what I told the guys last week is, we're one of 24 teams who are going on to the playoffs. And after our win on Saturday, I said, "Okay, half the teams I played today are done. We're one of now 16 teams that gets to move on. Not everybody gets to do this. So it's special. And honestly, my favorite thing about football is just hanging out with the guys at practice. That's hanging out with my guys, hanging out with my fellow coaches. That's what I love. That's what you remember, those things.
I had a smart aleck email come in. I mentioned this off air to you to say, do you have any more Division I players in the pipeline going on in Rolla? Is that happening?
If we can find 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 before Saturday, that would make me feel great. But like I said, it's just the program, and are we going to compete for championships every year? That's unrealistic. But are the players get coached and become better young men? I believe so. Yes.
Well, Nate, I've heard, has had a great camp and adjusting pretty well. That can't come as a surprise to you.
No, I mean he's. I text him I know he's really busy, so I message him every once in a while, and he is busy. But I see he's got they have their Scout Player Award, and he's won that twice.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. It's probably good for him just to be around that level of competition every day. There's probably a difference in the Scout players that he had to practice against last year versus the dudes that he has to practice against this year.
There might be a little difference.
Yeah, no disrespect to any of those players.
Not at all.
I mean, goodness gracious, I can't imagine having to line up against some of the Moster boys or Dudenheffer, and I'm glad I'm not Nate on that one.
And then his younger brother Brett Tosted, how is he? And he's committed. How does he look for your team this year?
Brett's doing a good job. He kind of had to. Brett and Cole and Jeffrey and Brandt kind of had to fill that leadership void of after the seniors left last year. We had a great leadership class there. So he's done a nice job kind of taking on that leadership role and really understanding that, we got to just don't compare ourselves to last year.
Yeah.
Compare ourselves to the beginning of the season and just focus on getting better each day.
I always appreciate the time, bud. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for taking my call. I promise I wasn't big timing you last week. Good luck on Saturday. We'll talk soon, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks, Dom.
Josh Keller, head coach of the North Prairie Cougars. They'll take on New Rockford-Sheyenne in the second round of the North Dakota 9-man playoffs that begins on Saturday. Man, this show flew by. We'll take our final break. We'll come back. We'll answer our poll question. Got a couple emails. And the Bison are changing things up for basketball. We have basketball this Wednesday. They got some new things happening at the Shack. We'll tell you about that when Hot Mike wraps after this.